Hackers have reportedly accessed systems at the U.S. National Nuclear Security Administration, which maintains the country's nuclear weapons stockpile. According to the U.S. media, the NNSA and its parent agency, the Energy Department, have evidence now that hackers gained access to their networks. The attack is part of a massive cyber campaign which affected at least half a dozen federal agencies, including the Treasury, State, Defense, and Commerce departments. The U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has suggested Moscow's involvement, but Russia has dismissed any such allegation as baseless. President-elect Joe Biden has described cybersecurity breach as a matter of great concern. He said his team will impose, quote, substantial costs on parties responsible for such attacks. Joining us now for this news review is Lawrence Davidson, former lecturer from Westchester University, joining us from Westchester, Pennsylvania, and Jason Unruhe, political commentator, joining us from Ontario, Canada. Gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you both to the program. I guess we'll start there in Westchester with you, Larry. Good to have you back on PressTV. It's a wild story. It's just not one breach. You're talking about multiple breaches of some very sensitive governmental institutions. Your thoughts?
Well, I think it's not unusual, quite frankly. I mean, it's a wired world, and the technological astuteness that exists in all of these industrialized or advanced societies has allowed them to essentially match the security developments step for step. So the fact that you see these breaches in the United States, I have a feeling they've been going on for quite a while. So you get a breach and then you patch it, and then you get another breach and you patch it. It should be kept in mind that these hackings go both ways. Okay, so while the Russians allegedly are hacking Washington, Washington's hacking,
everyone else,
Moscow, and both of them are hacking Beijing and whatever. And this is going to continue. Actually, this improvement in security. And then overcoming the improvement back and forth, probably until you get an effective quantum computer, and that will shore up the security of computer communications, at least for the indefinite future. Once that happens, and that's the state of the computer world.
Thanks. And Jason, I'd like to welcome you to the program. It's been a while, but I hope you're safe and doing well. Do you agree with Larry that basically this is just, basically part of the natural evolution of living in a technological savvy world where we're all very heavily dependent on computers, so thus there's going to be this ultimate hackathon taking place between everybody all the time?
Well, that certainly does seem to be the case. I mean, states have been spying on each other before computers were even invented. I mean, we have competing imperialist powers in the world who are going to spy on each other. There's absolutely no doubt, because all of these countries are in competition with each other. Of course, we see Russia competing with the United States and Belarus right now, and in Ukraine, particularly Donbass and areas like that. So it should not be surprising. I think there's a bigger question to ask here, and that whether or not this hack actually happened. The United States has a very long history of faking things like this, like saying that there were hacks, like, for example, the fraudulent claim that Russia hacked the last election, the 2016 election, and that was shown to be fraudulent from the information that was given. Now, there was actually a person inside the Democratic Party who actually leaked the information, etc. But If this is exactly the way that they say it is, I mean, it would most likely be Russia or China in this situation, because we should not delude ourselves. Obviously, everybody's watching what everybody else is doing because, as I said, everybody is in competition. I think that if this hack does happen, this has to be a state actor that does it. Obviously, a single individual could not pull off something like this. It's too significant, too sophisticated, too coordinated. This would have to be a state actor in doing so. So I think that there is a very good possibility that Russia did do this after all.
Thank you. And Larry, Joe Biden, new U.S. president, elected and soon to be president, basically said he's going to get really tough with acts like this. I mean, don't you get tough with acts like this? First of all, when you don't partake in these kinds of acts yourself, your government doesn't, one. And two, basically, shouldn't the priority here be to set up the proper firewalls and protect yourself? You're the one that's left yourself exposed. Basically, anyone that could have walked in. It could have been, like Jason said, a slew of adversaries.
Well, I think that they do take seriously the development of firewalls. But like I said, it's a very hard standard to maintain. The effective firewalls against effective counter computer abilities. I think what you need is a treaty, to minimize it. What you do is you set up some sort of international accord where some basic level of information becomes available, that there's a level above which information is public, and then below that it's protected, and you try to minimize. I mean, this is probably very naive of me, but you try to minimize the vulnerability of that material through some sort of international accord or bilateral treaty, whereby people keep their hands off.
Okay.
Again, that seems to be one way of going about it, but perhaps I'm being naive.
No, not at all. Jason, what do you think would be a way to deal with it? Because, I mean, treaties to a great degree have lost a lot of luster. It seems like they get violated before they even get put in ink. Your final thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, a treaty, if held to the spirit of it, would certainly work. But as we've seen, treaties across the world don't really amount to very much at all, particularly with the United States and many of the agreements that they had signed on to, the JCPOA as a prime example of that. But we're living in a world where societies are, or at least states are, competing with each other over global resources, financial markets, etc. So we won't see these kinds of attacks going away anytime soon. As long as we're all in competition with each other, these kinds of things are going to happen.
Gentlemen, stay safe. Thank you both for joining us on the program. Lawrence Davidson out of Westchester and Jason Unruhe joining us from Ontario. And viewers, that's a wrap for the segment here of Press TV's News Review. Stay safe and goodbye for now.